Hello everyone, my name is Phawx. Once again, we're taking a look at the GPD Win Max. We're going to have a continuation of my coverage on this. We're going to be putting out a lot of videos, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be taking a look at eGPU solutions as well. I'll take a look. I have a non-contact thermometer here just so you can see what that looks like with regards to temperature on the back of it when holding it. Because the heat is so spread out, it is not as affected as previous models like the GPD Win 2 or especially the GPD Win 1. That particular device, you can see the type of size on this. This is an 8-inch screen. It is not that large. It's 800 grams. It's not that heavy. I will have a full review in about 2 weeks. I just have to kind of, use it a lot to give you my full thoughts on this particular device. Right now we're running Grand Theft Auto 5. Here is a bunch of metrics that you can see. We are running DirectX 11. Let me go ahead and just jump straight into the settings just so you can see what those look like. We'll go to settings here, and we will go and graphics. Up, please. So you can see that we are running DirectX 11. Everything else, we only have 1280 by 800, which is the resolution of the screen. Everything else is set to off or the lowest possible setting that it could possibly be. We're not doing any other external fancy type of low-spec mods. We're just doing whatever is in the configuration of the game itself. The only other thing that I'm doing right here is you can see in the frame scaling that I am doing 75%, if you can see that. Let me see if I can focus on that. Yeah. And that's just so you can see. Going any lower doesn't actually increase frame rate, so there are external factors that are inhibiting what we can hit as a max frame rate. And going further just makes image quality worse for no benefit. So very quickly, here you can see our current frame rate, our frame time. We are running DirectX 11, which is already established. Here's our current temperature of the chip itself, so we're at like 63 degrees Celsius. Here's the current package power. You can see PL1. This is what I hard set at 23.5 watts, and that's hard set between PL1 and PL2. It will not go higher, it will not go lower. This is just so that we have a very consistent type of gameplay. Here you can see our GPU clocks. We're running a little bit over a gigahertz across all 64 execution units. And then this is total system power. This is information that I'm getting from the battery itself. The battery is 57 watt hour. What this basically means is you can see that we're pulling 36 watts from the battery right now, and if we only can manage 57 watts total, it's just easy math to figure out how much battery life that is. This is basically going to be an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 45 minutes. You can lower this wattage, and I'm going to be tweaking that and trying to find out what is the actual sweet spot for this. Right now I'm at 23.5 just because I want to see what we can get, because I think that this is what a lot of people will be happy with. One thing that I put on here that was a problem with the Win 2 because we had so little RAM, you can see physical memory used and physical memory available. As we start driving around, the previous bug that was in the Win 2 that you needed to fix was that we would eventually, RAM would not be swapping out, and it would just kind of keep filling up without actually emptying. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of drive around. Let me center this camera for you guys and refocus. And we're just going to kind of continually let textures pool in and make sure that we don't actually have that same stuttering problem that would eventually happen on the Win 2. I certainly do. Now the good thing is that I actually prefer this control scheme on the Win Max, and especially because the there is more surface area on the bottom. Heat is spread out further, so it is not as apparent as the Win 2 and especially the Win 1. But also, we actually have clickable L3 and R3, which you just saw me activate right there. On the Win 2, the L3 and R3 were actually shoulder buttons. So it became something that you had to become accustomed to. I know that there are some fans of having L3 and R3 as trigger buttons. But I still, goodness gracious, I still prefer to have actual trigger buttons than just traditional triggers. L1 and both triggers, L1, L2, R1, R2 on the Win Max are digital only. They are not analog, which is unfortunate for racing game enthusiasts, I will admit. But right now it is very comfortable to play on. I'm just messing up this carpeted bed. See if I can't get a better rad. Hopefully this car is reasonably fast. So there's a few things that I would like you to look at. I want you to be looking at the temperature as well as memory used, because those are two things that you should be kind of concentrating on at the moment. Our temperature is right here, and our memory used is right there. You can you should be seeing that slowly going up. On the Win 2, we would have already started swapping, and then there would have been a tremendous amount of... Can I... Oh no, okay. There would have been a tremendous amount of stuttering happening because we'd be swapping out RAM to the physical disk. But because we have 16 gigs of RAM, we actually have a higher tier before we actually start running out of RAM. Right now we have 6.7 gigs of RAM left. So kind of just join me as we kind of cruise around. And naturally you can look at the current frame rate, which is considerably playable. Exceptionally playable. And from what I've noticed, I want to get a better car. From what I've noticed, even if we could do full resolution scale, actually running at 800p, but there is, I wouldn't want to call it, we would be tanking down to like the 30 FPS, and I just do really enjoy the benefit of having like mid 40s, and especially brief times of going up to 50s and 60s. I need to get on the freeway. There's a lot of... I'm going to have to... YouTube's going to ask me a bunch of things about profanity now. I am not saying profanity, but the game is. Ah, there we go. I should be able to get on there. Whoa! Excuse me. Alright, now we're out. Now we're good. Alright, so now we're up to 10 gigs of RAM. You can see that we're not freeing up RAM still. But we're still not stuttering at all. Because, you know, well, we still have RAM available. Basically, the point of this test is to see if I can stress how much texture data we're streaming in. And if eventually we'll get to a point where that will stop and start being released, or if we will still have that same type of bug that we had on other Intel stuff. There is a batch file fix that's floating around here that should release this stuff. But again, the point of this is just for people to kind of just play, right? Without having to fuss around too much, because now we're reaching a threshold of power that is a bit better. And one surefire way to load texture data is to just kind of drive around real fast. The one way that we can fix this in-game without resorting to patch files or external files is you could just quick warp. If you quick warp anywhere before you run out of RAM, like before we run out of RAM here, if you just quick warp anywhere, that texture data will reset forcefully. So there is a method to do it, and basically what I'm saying is, like, there is a reasonable amount of RAM that we have now that you could effectively kind of play for a while and then just self-govern yourself on when you quick warp, because it does look like we are going to hit that swapping issue soon. Right now I'm just, oh, we freed up some RAM. Oh, we're freeing up RAM. I was worried because it was constantly going down, but we actually freed up some RAM there. kind of hard to drive and follow numbers. You know, I'm wondering, is this 4 GB mark where we're actually hitting it? Like, does it keep on freeing up once 4 gigs of RAM is available? Let's see. Okay, we're under 4 gigs now. No, we're still chewing through it. Yep, still chewing through texture data. We're pretty efficient here, though. You know, I'm wondering if this is actually... So it is worth pointing out here. I would guarantee that if I just kept on driving, I'm going to have to be driving for another 10 minutes. We would eventually get to a point where we run out of RAM, and then the game will start stuttering like crazy. But if we just... Let me just show you. I want to see if I can quick warp anywhere. If I just quick warp here... Waypoint. Is there a way for me to... Oh, you know what? I think I can just reload. If I do just do... Replay... I know there's a quick warp thing. I don't know if I have it. Apologies, guys, while I'm kind of fumbling around for this. Point of interest, waypoint, low detail, blip. It's going to erase everything, but I just want to kind of go through it just so you can see that this will dump out. The point of this is that what we're trying to accomplish here is not run out of RAM so that the game doesn't stutter. And this should free up because we're loading into a new scene. And you can see right now, and it just freed up. So basically, what I'm doing, I'm actually loading back a previous save, but it's dumping out all of its cache because a lot of that cache was sitting in system RAM. It seems like to me that for most people, you really shouldn't experience an issue. If you were to die in the game, this would reset and you wouldn't have a problem. You would have to be driving for an exceptionally long time before you would run into that stuttering problem. For the most part, this seems to be... I would wager that most people wouldn't have a problem. And if you do have a problem, just quick warp somewhere. But anyway, you can clearly see, like, temperature-wise, we're 64 degrees Celsius. We've been locked at 23.5 watts. Frame rate has been around 40-ish FPS. We go up to 55. We'll go down to 35 at the lowest. All of that is super playable, and this is kind of actually super enjoyable. Anyway, this is a WinMax. Thank you for kind of watching me drive around, and hopefully you're scrubbing around in there. But this is a good indicator of the type of performance that you could expect. And more, this was taking a look at a previous problem on the Win 2 that really we don't suffer from with the WinMax because of how much RAM we have. So thankfully, that's, I would say, is mostly solved. It still would eventually be a problem, but it's so far out, we're basically brute forcing with how much RAM we have available to us. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you. Thank you.